Hello everyone, my name is Zoltan and I decided to make a series of videos about motivation and positive thinking because I think there are a lot of unhappy people in the world and that's because of negative thinking, and it's important to put this information out to as many people as possible. And I have a passion for sharing anything that I know and helping people. I know that there are many people out there who are creating ton of these videos who have a much bigger name than I have, like Tony Robbins, for example. But it can be hard for some people to relate to the big guys already because they could be very different in their ways of thinking. And they could say, oh, if I had what he has now, I could think the same way, like I could always be happy if I had all the money in the world, etc., etc. And even though I hope one day I'll be as big as Tony Robbins or the other great speakers, I wanted to wait first to start sharing my information, this information with people. But then I decided it's easier if I actually start sharing it during my journey so then more people can relate to me because I'm not very much different from anyone who's viewing this. And that hopefully gives you an edge to relate to what I say to you, a little bit more. So, and I thought if I'm on a journey that takes 1,000 steps, and if I'm only on the 20th step, it gives me great pleasure to help someone take their first 5 steps, for example, because I already know how to make that 5 steps, and it gives me great pleasure because I love helping people, and that's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing this video, and to give you a little bit of info about me, I dived into personal development in the last year and a half, but I have done it before even that, but unconsciously. So I didn't really know that what I'm doing is really the way to do this sort of thing, and I'll tell you a little story about it. And I know many people thinks that being happy means, be rich. That's because obviously being rich gives you a lot of freedom to do what you like to do, like travel and stay out of your work, for example. But the reason is that most people think that because they don't like their job. So obviously being rich would help them, get away from their job. And this would be probably the first point that we need to start at, to start looking at, like, what is it that we do in our lives? Because I think it's important to do what you love to do, and then you will find happiness. And we will get to the ways like how did I get there? And this is why I'm doing this as well, because maybe my job at the moment doesn't make me absolutely happy, but this one does, and everyone can do what they love to do and inspire people and help people around them, or whatever it is whatever it is that makes you happy. So I wasn't always happy and cheerful either, like any of the people in the whole world really. And the story about this is when I went to high school, I had a rubber eraser that we used to erase pencils from the exercise books. And when I was a kid, I wrote on one side pessimist, and on the other side, I wrote optimist. And every morning before I went to school, I just flipped this eraser to get a choice. And one day it landed on pessimist, and one day it landed on optimist. So I behaved that way. So when I was a pessimist, then obviously I expected bad grades bad grades. And when I got bad grades, at least I wasn't upset because I said, well, that's what I expected. So why should I be upset? And when I was optimist, I was expecting better grades. But even when I had bad grades, I started to look at ways of how to still take an optimistic view on that thing. And what I realized after a year or a year and a half of flipping this rubber every morning is to be more that I was more happy on those days when it landed on optimistic. So then I decided, okay, why am I being pessimistic if optimistic is a better choice? So then I just ditched this whole eraser, and I just kept on being optimistic since then. And since then, I'm really trying to find the good side of anything that comes to my life. And I believe that there is a great balance in the world everywhere. Even if you don't think so or you don't believe it, there are lots of things like the yin and yang, and the cup half full or glass half or cup half empty. It's really just the way how you look at things. And an example that I would like to say is, imagine if you enter to a room and there is pitch black in the room, and you have one torch, and in that, turning on the torch will give you a circle of light, and wherever you point it, that's what you see. So in the room there are loads of different things, just like in your life. Loads of things, bad things, good things, ugly things, beautiful things, whatever. Wherever you point your torch will give you something. And if you point your torch at an ugly thing or something that you don't like, you will feel bad. You will feel maybe scared even. And what the problem is that many people keeps on focusing on that point, and not changing. And even though maybe next to that, just like a meter away from that spot, there could be something absolutely beautiful, absolutely something that you absolutely love, but you just don't see it because you keep on focusing and concentrating on that bad thing, that one thing that generates a bad feeling in you. And what I'm telling you is to just have a more open mind. And if you see something that you don't like, start to look around and start to point your torch at a different thing in the room. And then you will find something that you love or that you like. And once you found that, start focusing on that. And I think that will be the first part of this, because you see, in our lives, we will always have things that we don't have control over, like rain. One day it could be raining, the other day it could be sunny. Some people likes that. Some people like the rain. Some people don't like the rain, and obviously you can't really change that, or you can't really do anything about that. But you can always start to see what is the good in that. So if it's raining, you can start to see why is it good that it's raining, because maybe you have a nice garden and you just put some flowers and then they start blooming. Anything really. I don't want to get into examples at that to that level or that depth, but that's what I think. If you can see the positive side of things, I think that's the first part of success. And I don't know if it ever happened to you, but if you had a day when you were absolutely happy, like something really, really good happened, and you were like, oh my God, nothing can ruin my day. And then you go out, or you go out and it's raining. You don't care. You're still happy, right? You're still happy, and you just feel great. But on the next day, when you don't feel that feeling because that great thing just didn't happen to you in the morning, and you still go out and it's still raining, then you feel bad. You were like, oh no, it's raining. I hate this. I don't want to go to work. Blah 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 blah. And that's why I think controlling your thinking and your focus will be the first step of being more happy with your life, because thoughts will then develop into a feeling, and feelings will develop to a behavior, and the behavior will develop an outcome. So an example to this: if I think about something that makes me angry, and I'll be angry, then I'll feel angry, and then I go home and I talk to my partner and she pisses me off with something, then I'll probably hurt her because I will say something bad out of anger, and she will feel bad. And then obviously, whose fault is that? It's my fault, because I thought of this bad thing. I spoke to her in a bad way that made her feel bad, and that's why we had the argument. But if before I thought of a nice thing that made me feel good, and if she starts talking to me, she would eventually get some power of that good thought from me, and we will have an even better relationship, or have just a better conversation overall. And that's why thinking is always the root of everything. And I'm not saying that we should suppress our feelings, our all of the bad things, but I think we should really change the focus from them. That's the key, because if you suppress it, that's when it can lead to depression and all that sort of things. and it's not good for anyone. But you can always change your focus, and that's because there is a law which is called the law of substitution, and that means that you can only think of one thing at a time. So you if your heart or your head or your thoughts are full with positive thoughts, there is no way that you can have a negative thought at the same time. Example, if I feel gratitude for something, that I've just received something, there is impossible that at the same time I can be angry. But it's the other way as well. If I'm angry, I cannot really be I cannot really feel gratitude towards anyone or anything, because I'm just angry and I just want to get it out there, you know. That's so. This will be the very short moral of the first lesson that I wanted to share. I mean, obviously, I could talk about this for hours, but if I put out a 3-hour video, no one would ever watch it. So I would like to release this sort of bit by bit, so it would be easier to digest on a daily basis. But I think the beauty of life is that even though we don't have much control over many things, we do have control over one thing, and that is our thought. And because that is the root of everything, then we can basically change the whole outcome of our lives. Because what we do for work, who are we, who do we live with, and what do we all have is basically an outcome of what we thought before. Maybe years before, maybe 20 years before, you thought of applying for a job, and that's why you're doing that job, because you had a thought that maybe that's the thing I need to do. If you didn't have that thought, you wouldn't be in that job. So we will get to this later. Obviously, I don't want to extend the video for too long, but yeah, I think the bottom line is to focus your thoughts on the good side of things. Always point your torch to the good side of things, so then you will start feeling more happier every day, really. And that's it for now. And what I would like to ask you, if you could just leave any sort of comments or post any kind of direct questions, I am more than happy to answer and try to help and give the best answer possible to your question. And hopefully I hear from you. Thanks very much for watching. Have a good day. Bye.